Ladies, are you the one who gets it all done? Always pushing forward, always striving, in the constant chase for success. When was the last time you took a moment just for you? We are always on the go, rushing from one task to the next, barely pausing to catch our breath. What if we took a moment to pause? Imagine listening in, really listening to the wind, your heartbeat, your soul. What if slowing down was the key? A chance to discover a deeper connection with yourself. And from that connection, expand it to those you love, to the moments that truly matter. Pause, reflect, connect. It's time to live fully from the inside out. Hello, everyone, and welcome to A Soulful Pause. I'm Josette Diaz, and I'm a self-awareness coach and creative strategist. I'm the founder of Seasons of the Soul here on Substack, and I have the best guest with me today, Dr. Melissa Corley Carter, and I'm so excited. We are on our third segment where we're going to dive into quantum and quantum human design. And so let's just go ahead and kind of like talk about this for just a brief moment before I bring Melissa on with us, because we hear the word quantum a lot more frequently now than maybe what we used to hear. And how does that relate to personal growth? And how does it relate to human design? So I had some of these questions, and I needed to understand that it is not just intellectually, but in my body. And so what I've found is that women who are doing the deepest work, the ones that are truly living from the inside out, they aren't confused by it. And so the more that you know about how quantum works and what it is there to provide you with, we do it every day and we're not even aware that we're doing quantum physics. And so it's when you talk about manifestation and all of those other things that we hear a lot of in the personal growth and spiritual world, quantum plays a very large part in that. And so you can get confused by it. And so we're going to unwind some of that for you today. So they're liberated by it once you understand it. And they meaning women. And when we are looking at unraveling the different parts of ourselves, quantum can have a very large influence in doing that for us and with us. I don't know if I'm really saying that very eloquently, but you're kind of getting my drift. So because it gives language to the things that we've always sensed and we couldn't always name. So Melissa, I'm going to bring you on aboard with us so that we can start talking about the quantum and human design. So welcome. I did not do that very eloquently, but that's all right. Nothing is
You said exactly what needed to be said. That's quantum.
In the moment. So
thank you for having me again, Josette.
Yes, of course. And I'm so excited that this is how we're rounding off our series for this go around, because, we may end up doing something later. We just might. And so I wanted to just kind of start off with, when we say quantum in the context of like human transformation, what does that actually mean? And I'd like our listeners to feel it and not just understand it intellectually.
Awesome. All right, well, let me give that a try, and we'll see.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on this? I threw you a big ball there. So
it is. Yes. Oh my goodness. So when we say quantum, basically we're referring to you hear about the quantum field, or the basically a infinite field, or a field of infinite potential, where there's everything is possible. I like to think of this as sort of the Doctor Strange movies, or even I don't know if you're familiar with the movie Sliding Doors. This is from the 90s, so people listening might not be familiar with that movie, but with Gwyneth Paltrow. But it's basically like, if you think about it, in any moment, there's an infinite number of things that could happen. Even as you're walking out so for example, in Sliding Doors, she's trying to catch the train on the way home in London, and you actually end up seeing two versions of the story take place, one if she caught the train and one if she didn't. And so, and then you see her life unfolding, whether in both of these possibilities. And so if you expand that out infinitely, we are all have, assuming there's, like, let's say there's a multiverse, right? For every experience of your life, there were infinite ways it could have gone. And there is a universe for every one of those possibilities, let's say. So let's think of that as the field of infinite potential, that in any moment, an infinite number of things could actually happen. There is one thing that does happen in your reality. And that's what they call the collapsing of the quantum wave. Quantum wave? That might be the wrong phrase, but basically the collapsing of potential into an outcome. So there is, now don't glaze your eyes over. There is a concept in quantum physics called the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, named after Heisenberg, who discovered it. And there's lots of math, and we're not going to do any of the math. The point is that he discovered the uncertainty principle, that for a particle, a quantum particle, and quantum particles do not behave like Newtonian physics, like Newton's laws of motion. So like the Earth around the sun, that's like Newtonian physics. Large bodies can be described by that, but quantum particles are very, very small, and they don't follow those rules. And so the Heisenberg uncertainty principle says that you can know precisely the location of a particle, or you can know precisely its momentum. And momentum is mass times velocity. Think of velocity as speed with a direction. So you can basically know how fast it's going, where it's going. You can know the direction or the momentum, or you can know where it is, but you can't know both at the same time. Now, my quantum human design mentor, Karen Curry Parker, actually describes this in a great way that I really appreciate, which is that is like our field of potential. That being able to know the momentum or the movement of the particle it's coming out of the field of unmanifest reality. Anything is possible. Once you know the location, it's like the particle has dropped out of motion and it has dropped into reality. So this manifesting idea that's when the motion stops and the particle drops into reality, you have created the experience in this particular round. Okay. So basically all the multiverses are happening at the same time. Again, think Doctor Strange or whatever, they're all happening at the same time. And then you make a choice or something happens, and then now you're in this Doctor Strange universe. You're in the one you're in right now. Now another one may be an offshoot of the decision you made going on in another place. So let me pause. Anything is possible in any moment. And then you kind of just collapse the wave into the potentials that actually turn into your real life.
Can I ask a question? Yes, it does. But can I ask a question?
Yes.
So when there's a choice or a decision or whatever, is that really speaking to perception? That perception can come in, and I think that when you land on perception, it's a choice. Does that make sense?
Yes. So it's and actually Karen talks about this too, that it is your expectation or the meaning you assign to something that actually influences which reality will collapse into your life, if that makes, and we use collapse as a quantum physics term. That doesn't mean like you collapse. It just means it's when the wave nature collapses and the particle appears, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So anyway, so that just means, okay, when the reality that has manifested is based on your expectation of what you are going to see. So when we talked about energy leadership last time, if the more you actually can shift your expectations, the more of something different you can start to create. Because there is another piece, again, I'll throw out a sciencey term, the reticular activating system. You don't have to remember what that is. Basically, your brain takes in way more information than you can process in any moment. And so it creates shortcuts. And so it sees what it expects to see. So this is like if you get a new car, all of a sudden you see that car on the road all the time, right? There's 20 million of those cars on the road, and there's not any more of them on the road than there were before you bought the car. It just has entered your awareness, this car, and now you actually see copies of it everywhere. They were there before, but your brain didn't process them because there was too much going on, and that's it's not important to the brain at that moment.
Right. Yeah, it's not part of your storyline at the moment.
Right. So you see what you expect to see. So you are collapsing, things from the infinite field of potential that is based on what you expect to bring into your reality.
Right.
So if you want to bring in something different, and this is also not a blame game. I feel like there's this new age spiritual trap that we get into, which is if something bad is happening in my life, I did something wrong. I manifested something wrong. And I feel like I've been there. I'm like, why did I create this? How is this happening? But there is also, there's a lot of unconscious stuff going on too. Your soul is creating experiences that are for your highest benefit.
Right.
So don't feel guilty if you feel like you've created something you don't want to create.
Right.
Just look at the meanings you're holding and see where you actually might have some beliefs that might be holding you back.
Because that also, like if it's so basically what you just kind of went over does feed into the possibility, or not the possibility, the practice of shifting state and perception to open up to the things that you were really desiring, such as like, if it's sort of like you use the example of like a car you might see all the time. So like if I want a new car and I decide, oh, I want this car, then I start noticing them, right? Like they start showing up everywhere, like you were saying. So therefore, if you are in a particular state, such as the energy levels from energy leadership, and you shift into a higher degree of energy level, you're going to have a different type of perception, a different type of focus, which then brings to you the things that you are wanting to attract. So that's the quantum waves that we're talking about that collapse, correct?
Yes.
Okay, good. Then I got it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, good. So now that we know that, we have that kind of like outlined, quantum human design is an evolved version of the original human design system.
Yes.
So what shifted when you personally encountered it, and why do you use it in your coaching work?
Great question. It's funny, I actually first encountered traditional human design with Dr. Karen Curry Parker back in 2017 when I was first starting my business, and it didn't really resonate. I was actually really frustrated when I got my my traditional human design chart. Interestingly enough, the emotional theme, I'm a generator in traditional human design, and the emotional theme of the generator is satisfaction and frustration. And I was like, oh, I was frustrated about the frustration part, and also actually a little bit annoyed that was the most common type. And I was like, man, I thought I was special, but I'm one of the common ones. And I've actually become over time so grateful that I'm one of the common ones, because there's a sustainable energy there that I really appreciate having access to.
Right.
But anyway, suffice it to say, it was sort of intriguing, but I didn't really do anything with it. But as I was going through and building my business, that was from one of maybe the first little business, there's 21 speakers and they each have a little 20-minute talk, one of those little summits, and it was the first one that I'd ever done. And as I got, more aligned with what I was doing, you unsubscribe from all the email lists, right? That you subscribe for at the summit. I could never bring myself to unsubscribe from Karen's list. So I got the emails for like 3 years. And then in 2020, actually before the pandemic even happened, one email went by and I actually read it and I was like, oh, that's super interesting. And it turns out that in 2020, it was when she was actually updating the vibrational language to quantum human design. And it actually started to resonate with me. And I actually did a little program they had that was the quantum alignment program, where they introduced the emotional freedom techniques, the tapping, the quantum alignment system. And it was hugely powerful for me just releasing some old stressors and some old energies, old beliefs, and really learning how you can, even in a different way from energy leadership, shift your energy and let go of old stories and embrace the true story of who you are. And so it really, really resonated. And the more I found out about it, the more I realized that I had been living my life according to my design without
Mhm.
even knowing it. And I find that that's actually one of the beautiful things that
Yeah.
people that I work with, why I use it in my work, is
Yeah.
it actually gives people a validation of who they already know they are, which is
Yes.
very
Yeah.
cool, And
It
also
is very
sometimes I
cool.
think, oh, there's something wrong with me. I'm not like anyone else, or I'm not doing it the
Right.
way the world likes to do it. But then they find out the design and they're like, oh, it totally makes sense the way I'm doing it. And it's super validating and really cool.
I agree with you. I mean, I love human design. I
Hmm.
am not I find some things feel challenging to me
Hmm. Hmm.
around human
Hmm.
design, like all the lines and understand, and
Hmm.
I've just never really totally dived into those aspects of it. Yet I
Right.
have a general understanding enough to
Hmm.
know I'm a manifesting generator.
Hmm.
So, I'm
Hmm.
right there with you. I
Hmm.
get it.
Yep.
We do have a lot of energy, lots of ideas. We're always
Hmm.
generating, right?
Hmm. Yep.
And although that makes us kind of like in the larger bucket, it
Hmm.
still is needed. It's
Yeah.
needed in order
Yes.
for the
Yes.
other
Hmm.
parts of human design to work
Hmm.
properly.
Hmm.
So
Yes.
I'd like to just kind of like say, what let's see. So we all have like a specific energetic blueprint in
Hmm.
human design.
Hmm.
And so a type, a strategy, and an authority.
Hmm.
So for women that are in midlife who are reinventing themselves, why
Hmm.
does knowing that actually matter to them at this particular moment in their lives?
Mm, great question. I think it matters because, again, in this midlife experience, it's important to really connect with who you really are, and that is what
Mhm.
human design is here to give you. Basically, a like, here's what the highest potential of your design uh, it can look like. Even though you have a type of strategy
Right.
authority, it's not a
Yeah.
label, it's not a box or anything like that. But it's liberating, so that you actually, again, see that you can actually stop living by societal expectations
Hmm.
and living in all the other boxes you were trying to fit yourself into. So I think it's the liberating to figure out what your blueprint is. And there's really decision making strategies that really help. Like, so for us generators, right, the
Hmm.
waiting for a response, like the sacral response, to like a yes, what
Yeah.
feels like a yes, what feels like a no, and learning how to actually say yes wisely, how to quit things
Mm.
wisely. We're taught that quitting is bad, but for our types, there's actually, we actually need to experiment with a lot of different things and not necessarily take them all to completion. So learning how to
Hmm.
quit wisely is
Yes.
one of the main lessons to learn. So and learning things. So for example, with the authority, my authority is the emotional, or the creative solar
Hmm.
plexus, where basically they say you have an emotional wave and you have to wait through your wave. So if you, before you say yes to something, you should maybe at least wait 24 hours and sleep on it, like
Exactly.
basically the
Yeah.
classic sleep on it, right?
Yeah.
And so I find, especially for people in midlife, if you're navigating big decisions and even
Hmm.
small ones, but especially big ones, knowing how you best make decisions is really helpful. Some people, the instinctive, intuitive, in the moment gut response is the correct response, and for some people it's not. That has to the
Yeah.
response has to remain consistent over time. And so if
Hmm.
you tell your neighbor you're going to help them, clean their yard tomorrow, and then you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, why did I say I would do that? That's like that, maybe should have slept on it kind of thing.
Yep. Done that
So
before.
yep. So I think, especially in midlife, when there seem to be a lot of decision points, and the human design also says that that's a natural point where we have have those reinvention points, because there's something called the Uranus opposition, where Uranus is on an 88-ish year cycle. And so when you're in your early 40s, it's halfway around. It's at the house, so it's an opposition to where it was when you were born. And this energy actually is a shift from the doing energy of our younger years into what is the higher purpose of my life? That's actually why people end up kind of having midlife crisis. It's a natural thing, because you start to wonder what else. There must be something more, right? There must be something more than I checked all the boxes and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So you're in a place of really evaluating what your life is really about, and knowing who you really are gives you a guidepost, and I guess more of a compass to help you discover what's really true and meaningful for you.
Yes, I agree with you. And I think that you kind of said it in the beginning when you said about recognizing the way that you function in the world, that when you saw it in human design, it was like, oh, that makes complete sense. It's like you got the confirmation, back to you around how you sit in your own energy and what works best for you. I think the thing that helped me the most, that was most validating to me, was I'm also, ruled by emotion. So I need to sit with decisions like 24 hours. And I find that I actually do what's best for me when I do wait.
Yes.
Yeah, because otherwise I'll have those moments of, darn it, I wish I wouldn't have said yes. And I did.
Yes. Yeah. So I think finding out what the yes feels like and finding out what the no feels like, when it's fed by like I feel like I should say yes to this, that was really impactful for me, really finding out what it felt like, what the yes and no felt like.
Yeah. Yeah.
By some post-processing of decisions that maybe didn't go,
right.
I kind of wish I hadn't said yes to that. So.
Well, then before human design, you had those feelings all the time. And so here you are trying to really manage that, your system better, and the way that you make those kinds of decisions. And so I find it really helpful to know that about yourself. So, okay. So since you're a scientist, Melissa, how do you hold both the hard data of a rocket scientist and the invisible quantum nature of this work? Does the tension ever show up, and how do you navigate that?
It's beautiful. I find that there's really not, for me, there is not a conflict. There's not really a lot of tension. I find that it's all the same thing. Science and quantum physics is also a branch of science, but the science and the spirituality aspects, I think, are all just different ways of trying to understand the universe and explain it in what people have been asking, who are we and why are we here, for thousands and thousands of years. And there's so many different systems for explaining that. So I think it's all just answering the same questions. And so I find that for me, the integration, I have actually kind of developed my own rocket science philosophy for coaching, and find them to be that sort of quantum infinite creative power is part of who we are. So my rocket science philosophy is that everything in life actually is rocket science, because in essence, without any math or equations, rocket science is about going from where you are to where you want to be. It's about acknowledging progress and adjusting course, and it's about letting go to lift off. And that's what we do in life.
That's so true. I love that. I think you need to put that somewhere. Do you have that somewhere already?
I do. I do have that philosophy on my website, and it's actually sort of the backbone of the coaching work that I do. It's sort of, we figure out, okay, where are you, through energy leadership, through quantum human design, where are you right now? And then there's a visioning process. Where do you want to be? And also what I like to call no muscle boot camp, because no is a muscle, and it gets stronger with use. And that's the letting go of things that are no longer aligned. And so I integrate it into the work that I do. And I think it's great, because it's, again, you don't have to do the math or equations, but it also, for me, has been a big affirmation that nothing is wasted. I
Yeah.
didn't become an astronaut, but everything that I learned and studied along the way actually came in handy, and I'm using it, just not in equations, and I'm not working for NASA or anything, but I
Yeah.
am using rocket science even in our conversation, right? In everything that I do every
Yeah.
day.
Well, and
So,
isn't that just fascinating that like I remember back in the day, like in the 80s, where science had not met metaphysics or spirituality.
mhm,
And knowing that it was coming at some point. And now here it is. Uh, it's really interesting to have come and been in that world as I was uncovering for myself
mhm,
at a
mhm,
young age through that period of time to now, where it's so
mhm,
acceptable, it's so proven, it's so,
mhm,
you know, it fits like a puzzle piece.
mhm, mhm. Yeah.
And so I love hearing that this is, that you've already, like, those connections were existed and
Mhm,
continue to exist in the way
mhm,
that you
mhm,
operate and function, especially as a coach for women. You
mhm.
don't, do you just work with women?
I actually work
That's
with
a
men
good
also.
question. Okay,
I
that's
work
what
with
I
both.
thought. Yeah.
Yep. Mhm.
So I'd like to know, is there anything else that you would like to mention that you do in your coaching practice that brings, I know that you're using quantum human design.
Mhm.
What else about quantum physics? I don't want to just say quantum because that doesn't
Mhm.
really describe anything. So, um, what else do you use as a driver within quantum physics that helps your clients and brings them to the places that they want to be?
I think it really is leaning on that infinite creative potential. So a little bit kind of what we've already talked
Hmm.
about, just that anything is possible. And you're talking about the, how science is kind of catching up with
Yeah,
what people have known for so long. And so many scientists have said that there's serendipity in their
right.
discoveries.
Yeah.
Einstein, even the eureka moment, Archimedes in the bath, or whatever it is. There's the spontaneity, or the synchronicity of a random chance occurrence has
Hmm.
always been a part of scientific discovery.
Yeah.
And so I think it's the power of starting to notice, like, I think that's what it is, training your focus
Hmm.
to look for what you want rather than what you don't want.
Yeah.
So I think that, while I might not have initially phrased that in quantum physics terms, I am now as I'm thinking about it,
Right.
because one of the things I have always encouraged people to do is shift the language. So if they say, "Oh, I don't want to be stressed in traffic," or "I don't want to be stressed," well,
Hmm.
okay, you're still focusing on the word stress, and the universe doesn't understand the word not. So this is also the quantum piece, right?
That's
It
right.
hears
Yeah.
stress, and so you will get more stress.
Right.
So what is the opposite of stress? And actually, people have a hard time with that question. Like, I don't know, what is the opposite of stress? So think ease. Maybe you want
Yeah.
an easeful
Right.
commute, or whatever.
Hmm.
So learning to change the language starts to change the outcomes, because
Right.
it literally, changing your language rewires your brain and creates
Yes.
different neurochemical pathways and all this stuff. So you are programming the quantum field to deliver more of what you actually want when you use the language,
Hmm.
and can envision what else is possible, not just what you've seen work in the past or what you've seen not
Right.
work in the past.
Right.
So I think that's a huge part of it, is recognizing the language change, and looking for what you want versus trying to push away what you don't want.
Yes. And I think getting very clear about what you want,
Mhm. Mhm.
that is part of that. I hate to use the word work because work just feels like, you know,
But I hear it. I get you. Uh-huh.
it is that process though of noticing. I think
Mhm.
noticing is one of the key things in creating change.
Mhm.
And when you notice, as you said, it starts to
Mhm.
shift the neural pathways in your brain,
Mhm.
which then shifts your state. your
Mhm.
state of being, and how
Mhm.
you then perceive the world. So then your
Yes.
perception shifting and
Mhm.
all of those pieces coming together. This is
Mhm.
why at the beginning of our segment, we were talking about how quantum is happening all the time. We're doing it all
Mhm.
the time and we don't know it.
Yes. Yes. Mhm. Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
so, yeah, I think that, it's a fascinating topic to explore. And there's so many other pieces to it besides what we just briefly touched on today. But I think
Mhm.
it's a really good place to start and to really
Mhm.
understand um, what you were going to say something.
Oh, no,
What
I
were you
was
going
I
to
was
say?
just
Oh,
agreeing with
okay,
you.
okay. I didn't know if you were going to say something.
Mhm.
So, when you've described that your mission is helping humans reclaim their power, own their awesomeness, and take giant leaps of faith. So, after everything, the science, the marathons, the coaching, and the quantum work, what does taking a giant leap of faith actually require? And what's the real ask of someone?
Yes. Ooh, this is a big one, and I love it. Taking a giant leap actually requires letting go. So I talked about letting go to lift off. There is a letting go of expectations, a
Mm-hmm.
letting go of attachment to outcome, and also letting go of old stories.
Yeah.
So much to let go of that actually helps you shed and become lighter so that you can take off.
Yeah.
And so there's the letting go, and then I actually you could kind of sort of ironically what I think the giant leap requires is taking one small step after another.
Mm.
It's one small step adds up, adds up, adds up, and it's not, and you don't have to know all the steps. It is literally letting go of your need to control it
Mm-hmm.
and letting the universe show you the next step. So take a
That's
step
right.
and let the universe that, and then that opens up the possibility for 10 more steps. So you can't ever plan 10 steps in the future because you don't know what else will become possible
That's
when you
right.
take that first one and then take the
That's right.
second one. They start to so
Yeah.
that giant leap of faith is one small step after another and letting go of the attachment, letting go of the
Mm.
control.
I really love that, Melissa. That's that is just so beautifully put. Thank you. Thank you so much. I've
Thank
really
you.
enjoyed having this conversation with you. And
Me too.
I know that we could continue talking for many more hours
Hours.
and having so many other conversations, and we may just do that. So,
Mhm.
um, if
Love
you're
it.
in the audience and you've listened through this series, we would love to hear what your thoughts are and if you would like more and what you would like. So, you can drop that information in our comments and we will have, I'm sure, more conversations. And I really want to thank you for being here. So, what you carry, the science and the soul and the miles of wisdom, it's really rare to have all of those components into one. And so you're a very special coach and special woman in the world. And thank you.
Thank you, Josette. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for the beautiful conversations we've had and the opportunity to share with this beautiful audience. It's truly an honor, and I really
Oh,
appreciate you and everyone here.
yes, well, thank you. And so I'd like to thank everyone else for being here with us. And you know, for everyone that's listening, go find the book, Running the World. You will really love it. It's absolutely beautiful. And look up Melissa Corley Carter and then sit with the question that she's left us with, which is, what world are you running? So I'm Josette Diaz, and this has been A Soulful Pause. Until next time, be still enough to hear what's true. So thank you, everyone. Thank you again, Melissa.
Thank you, Josette.